Hello, everybody. I am Allie Duzette, and today we're talking about the shortages going on right now at the grocery store. Who here has had some shortages at their grocery store? Because I definitely have been noticing empty shelves. Maybe anybody in the comments, if you've been seeing empty shelves, you can write about it. Have you been seeing any empty shelves where you are?
Some over at my place, but overall, we're not having much of an impact down here in St. George.
Oh, that's so good.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing to note about the shortages is that they're going to be hitting different areas of the country really differently based on where you are and how hard it is for things to get to that place. So, for example, under Trump, the cost of shipping a container from Asia to the US cost about $3,800. Now it costs $17,000. Okay, so that makes it harder for the business people to actually have the money to ship these containers across. It's going to rise the prices and things. I mean, it's going to be harder for things to get where they need to go. Gas prices are also going up. There's truck driver shortages. There's weird laws in different places about eco-friendliness of trucks that are impacting how many trucks are available to get place to place. But so to get a shipping container from Asia to the United States, which is going to come to the West Coast, right? That's costing $17,000. It's another $3,000 to $4,000 to get it from there to the East Coast. And so this is why I'm from Maryland, but I don't live there right now. Out there in Maryland, I've been hearing a lot of reports of empty shelves and restaurants that have no food and they have no plates and no disposable forks because these things are not coming across the country. But here we aren't having that problem yet, but maybe that will happen as things go by. Oh, somebody has a comment. I'm an instant cart shopper and I am almost always having to find a replacement because the item isn't there. Yeah. So today, Naomi and I are going to sit down and look at some of the astrological charts with this context to see what we can figure out about it. This is something I just wanted to do for fun. And I started talking to Naomi about it because she's one of my favorite astrologers. Love her. I love her work. And I thought, oh, it would just be so fun to just sit down and talk about it. I thought, I know my 2,000 closest friends would also think this was fun. We're all going to do it. So we have not planned this. I did not really look at the charts ahead of time. I don't know if you did, Naomi, but
I've looked at the one that we had talked about, the massive conjunction. I've looked a lot at that one for many different reasons, but not in this context. So yeah, we're showing up and we're doing our thing with you all.
Yeah, so you get to see us in real time. Oh, so fun. So yeah, we will not take a super long time. We have a hard end at 10. So let's just jump in. I'm going to share my screen and then we're just going to talk about what's going on. So this is the January 12th conjunction. And I'm just starting here because this is kind of how the Pluto return kicked off. We're heading into a Pluto return for the United States of America in February. You can remember the date of 2/22/22. And that is, that's a big deal. But this moment, January 12th of 2020, is kind of where everything got started. And with astrology and these events like this, what you often notice is that on these big events, so here with this chart, you can see all of this stuff going down in Capricorn, the Sun, Ceres, Saturn, Pluto, Mercury, all right on top of each other, right there in Capricorn in the 10th house for the United States of America. I ran this from Washington, D.C. And so, so that is a big deal. But nothing big happened that day. January 12th, I mean, I knew that this was coming. I sat there on January 12th and I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And it was a Sunday and I was really glad to have that excuse to stay home. And then nothing happened. And then 2 weeks later, it's coronavirus time, we're shutting down the border, and bazam, now the ball's rolling, right? So sometimes these things, they don't happen right away, but the energy of it triggers something that then leads into this domino effect. Do you have a thought on that, Naomi?
Yeah, astrologers for years knew that this massive conjunction was going to happen. They didn't know anything about anything else. Like, they didn't know what specific events would be happening. But when we started having the buzzings in China about this bat and, you know, all the things and all the like breakout, and then we hit this massive conjunction, that much energy in Capricorn all at once with the sun there, like, because the sun will light everything up. It's bringing things to light. So this was not an event in that moment, but it was a cracking down. Like, the visual that I like is if you were to go down like below a freeway, like a freeway with really, really thick concrete that's like been there for hundreds of years. And it's like, oh, we're just breaking this up. Like, this is now the point where it starts to kind of be disrupted. Like, we're resetting the energy here. That's what we had in that moment. And then it became this like rolling down the hill kind of an experience.
I love that. And we just had, you know, in my own family, our car just had an issue of the windshield cracked, and then overnight it cracked a little bit more. And I feel like that is what you're describing. Like, that moment was the first crack, and now here comes all the growing cracks, but this was the crack, right?
Because Capricorn is the energy of like the way things have been done. It's tradition. It's so with all of this happening, and for Pluto to be involved, like, so Pluto's involved, like, we could have had all of these 6 things happening, 7 really in all of Capricorn, but 5 all at once, without Pluto involved, and it would mean something very, very different. But because Pluto's hanging out there and Saturn, those are called the 2 devils of the sky, because they bring the gifts of massive transformation through doing things in a very specific way. But for all of them to be hanging out there, it's of course no coincidence. God already arranged all of this like from the beginning. But it's like, oh my gosh. And so we see all of this play out. And then the other charts that Ali has prepared will also shed more light on some of the things that we're experiencing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, that's very true. Well, and Capricorn is also the sign of government. And so for me, having our Pluto return in Capricorn, for America, we're going to be seeing a big death and rebirth of government. And that's that moment, that first crack is going to be in February, the one coming up in 2022. And isn't that funny? It's going to be 2/22/22. And look at these 22 conjunctions here in Capricorn. That's like, and look at this. Oh no, it's at 10:56.
Yeah, but if you ran it for 2/22 in the afternoon, the conjunction would still be, I mean, it would be very similar, but you wouldn't have an Aries rising, of course.
Yeah. It would still be a tight conjunction though. Yeah.
Because all of those move so slow. This isn't like the moon buzzing through that's going to change a full degree every 2 hours. This is and Mercury is a little bit ahead of the game, but that's still very solidly considered a conjunction.
Yeah. We got a question, which is, does it mean anything if your Pluto was here in the first place? And the answer is yes, but you will have been dead for a long time, because Pluto is on a 244-year cycle. So everyone who has lived through Pluto at 22 degrees Capricorn is dead as a doornail. Okay, the last time this happened was in 1776. So the answer is yes. All of the angels on the other side of the veil who lived through this time are being activated for us, but you personally, we're not alive at that time. No one watching this was alive at that time. So for us humans here on the planet, alive right now in our bodies, that's not going to apply to us.
Most people watching this will have their Pluto in Virgo, Libra, or Scorpio, probably, because it's a generational planet. Like, fun fact, my Pluto is at 23 degrees and 23 minutes. So I got to have all the fun in Libra. So this was all squaring my Pluto at the same time. So it was extra awesome for me in like the sarcastic way of like, my life was imploding internally and being transformed.
So what she's talking about on this chart is right here. So you see Pluto and Saturn right here at 22 degrees, and what did you say? Your
My Pluto is at 23 in Libra.
In Libra. So her Pluto is going to be right here on this chart, and this red line is called a square. So what that means is a big amount of stress. So she experienced a lot of Pluto death and rebirth stress as a result of this placement.
But it turned out amazing. I moved across the country that year, and I met the love of my life, and I got married like that year. Like it created like, yes, death, but talk about rebirth. So anytime you're feeling that intense internal stress of that death energy, it has power, like unbelievable power to transform.
Yes. And we have a comment. Pluto may be squaring your natal Pluto. When Pluto squared my and my ex's Pluto, the week we decided to divorce. So yeah, when you have Pluto aspecting, the transiting Pluto aspecting your natal Pluto, so in the Pluto that's going around right now is triggering your personal Pluto, wherever it is on your chart. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's going to be big. And yeah, I mean, this won't be for a little while yet, but it'll be like sextiling people's natal Plutos that are in
Scorpio. And the older in Virgo, like they'll get some trining going on. It'll be supportive. Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah. So depending on which generation you were born in, Pluto is what she called a generational planet. So it affects people, everybody that was born in this period of 10 years or 12 years, everybody is sharing that same Scorpio energy. Okay. So one more thing about this conjunction, we also have Jupiter here, which is going to blow all of this up, and the South Node conjunct Jupiter. So what that is telling me is that this is a time right now between January 12th, 2020. And so here's the deal with the Pluto return. We have the Pluto return on 2/22/22, but then it's going to go retrograde for a minute and whack it again. And then it's going to go direct again and whack it again. So we're going to have 3 Pluto returns in a row, and we're in for about 10 years of like big stuff.
Shake-up.
That's what we're looking at. We're looking at an extended period of shakeup. So anyway, but this is how it all kicks off. This is the underlying purpose, in my opinion, and like what's going on. It all comes down to this. We're having a massive blow up of the hidden things that need to come to light in our government. And so,
looking at the past and revisiting like where we've been with the South Node, like let's revisit like where did we begin like as a country, because we kind of need to stay aware of that.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, and so I think now might be a good time to take a look at America's natal chart. But first I wanted to mention this Venus in Libra. It just is really drawing my eye right now.
Aquarius.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Aquarius. Yeah. Venus in Aquarius at 28 degrees in the 12th house. As I was thinking about this, I was like thinking about horary charts and how to be reading what's going on now with shortages in a chart. And I know that, the thing that represents the shortages is what you want to be looking at on all the charts. And I thought, I think Venus would be the one representing the shortages because it really deals with stuff, items, valuables, and security. I mean, what do you think about that? Venus?
Yeah, I could definitely see that because it's like that. It's delving out the resources.
Do you have another thing that you would look at? I mean, I'd be looking at Taurus, Venus, second house placements.
And heavily at Saturn, because Saturn is it's the list keeper. It's like the really, really present manager that's like looking over your shoulder and making sure everything is done correctly. Like, oh, you missed a step. Now you have to go back to the beginning and do it again. It's like that Saturn. It's like, he won't let you get away with anything. And of course, Saturn's involved in that massive conjunction of like, we're doing this correctly. I don't care how long it takes. That's Saturn.
I love that. Okay, so as we look at these charts, we're going to look at Saturn, Venus, second house, Taurus, and I think, and whatever else shows up, but those are things we want to kind of keep our eyes on. We just had an interesting comment? Where's the chat? Hamilton the musical trended big last year during the lockdowns. People were watching a show about the birth of America. And yes, when did they release that? I think they opened it up on July 4th, which is astrologically significant. Like that's the birthday, the solar return of America. And it's true. I mean, I will confess for myself, how many times a day do I listen to Hamilton? Like literally every day. I sing it all day. I have the music book. I'm like playing it on my piano. Anyway. Crazy for Hamilton, but so is everyone else. We all love Hamilton, right? But yeah, that's an interesting point. You see how this this energy is showing up on a national level. Okay, so sorry, let's open up a new chart. Let's go to America's birthday. So I run this chart from Philadelphia in the moment that astrologers agree that probably the moment it was signed, the Declaration of Independence. And so people say, oh, but what about the Constitution? Oh, what about, you know, blah, 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 these different moments, you know.
Those are important, but not this.
Exactly. This is, I mean, for a natal chart, you count from the moment of the first breath, you know, and so with America's birthday, I feel like this moment was the moment America took its first breath of life. It's still an infant, it's a baby. You could easily like destroy it, but you didn't. And this is the moment of the first breath.
I'm kind of in love with the rising and the midheaven with this moment, because I've run different charts for that day, like at noon or whatever, but this is my favorite.
Yes, it's so true. So this chart is really fascinating. And the thing that comes to me, I mean, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we were talking about the nodal path and how we had the South Node conjunct Jupiter in that big stellium in Capricorn with all of this stuff on January the 12th. And so it's an invitation to look at our natal South Node, right? As a country, yeah. And so here we have the South Node from Aquarius to Leo. So our kind of karmic baggage, but also our ancestral gifts come in this Aquarius region, and we're supposed to be heading towards this North Node in Leo, which is not technically conjunct the North Node, but it is still pretty close to your part of fortune, which is going to be the treasure. Our treasure is going to be heading into this zone in the 8th house with Leo. So I have thoughts on this, but do you have thoughts on
I would love to hear your thoughts. I also have my North Node in Leo in the 8th house in my natal chart. So like, I love this. And it's just a few degrees away. So it's like, I'm so excited to hear what you're going to say, because I have my own thoughts because of my own personal natal chart. But
yes. Good. Exciting. Oh, I didn't know that. So the South Node in Aquarius for the nation of the United States of America, when I look at that, well, we have to talk about Aquarius archetypes. And so Aquarius is going to be, it's very humanitarian focused, and it's very group focused. It wants to take care of everybody. This can be your social justice warrior. This can be your person saving the whales, like your Greenpeace activist. Okay, you're a PETA activist. You know, I have double Aquarius in my own chart. It's like my double house for, like, I have an interception, and it's made up by the Aquarius and Libra axis. And so, like, for me, it looks like I'm always emailing my legislators. They like know my name. They probably hate me. I'm like, you better take care of business, buddy, you know, but, you know, I've always been like very politically active, and it is this Aquarius influence. And with Aquarius, it can tend to want to save the world. Okay. And so having your South Node in Aquarius, I'm thinking of America, like some words that come to mind are America as the world's policeman. America, like delving into these issues of like social welfare, that like, even if you think it's a really great thing, look at the budget. Our budget cannot sustain the kind of social.
Not the way we're doing it.
Exactly. Not the way that we're doing it. This is a really karmic presentation of how we're using our resources. And we have been hitting a breaking point. I just saw a graph yesterday of the national debt over time, where just since 2020, we've we've like skyrocketed it, and it was already out of control, trillions and trillions, and now it's like $27 trillion of debt. We can never pay that back. And here we have Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, right here in the same house of money and resources, next to our karmic Aquarius presentation here.
In the second house.
In the second house. The second house is all about money and stuff. Yeah. And what we value. And it's cusped by Capricorn of government, right? Capricorn. And then again, like it all comes back. We have this like really special government that no other country has ever had one like ours. And so, or if they do, it's because they copied what? But so that's where
it's the highest form of flattery. Like
it's true. I think everyone should copy us, but it's true. So we're having this really interesting situation, and you can see how when America was born in 1776, this was totally a thing. They did a total death and rebirth of government as it had ever been done, right? So it's such a powerful message about death and rebirth of governance. But for us living through the Pluto return, it could get a little messy because we're going to have to pay the piper for some really irresponsible financial decisions, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm getting from it. And then that America has to move across to Leo, which Leo is all about me. Leo is all about me. And it wants to be the shining star and me first. And it's very charismatic, and it's a great leader. You know, I always compare Leo to Simba in The Lion King, because he starts off, I just can't wait to be king. And he's so irresponsible, he leads to his own father's death and the complete collapse of society. And then he runs away from it so that he can go have fun eating bugs in the jungle, which is so disgusting. But but then what happens? He meets Nala, and there's like that romance action, and Leo also governs romance. And then he goes from there. He gets inspired to go back and step into his rightful role as the king. And even the heavens respond. They open up and rain down and save the Pride Lands from the drought as he's killing the bad guy. And that is the power of Leo. So we can have a dark side of Leo that's really irresponsible, fun, and the light side of Leo, which is going to be extremely charismatic. It's going to take care of its pride, or like the herd, you know, but it's going to come and do it from this very like the power of Leo is when you know who you are and you have really strong boundaries and you're willing to enforce them. And so I feel like for America, we have this calling to go away from irresponsible, like fun monetary spending. We have this destiny to make it about America first and about having those good boundaries. And that is where the treasure is going to be, is how we deal with other people's resources. This is the 8th house. How are we dealing? This is a house that actually governs taxes. This is the house that governs inheritance. I mean, like the money, like your death tax is like right in here, you know? And how we're going to have to find our treasure as a country is balancing the budget. But when you're $27 trillion in debt, balancing the budget is going to be a disaster. It's going to be
out of control. Like it's the Leo that's done the overabundance, the too much, the like, well, I just went out with my 8 credit cards with $100,000 limit and I maxed all of them out on shoes and fuzzy things that'll be out of, like, it's very much that, like, oh, it's the immaturity of the Leo energy.
Yeah, well, and you can really see that. I mean, I used to work at the EPA, if you can believe it, as an intern, so don't get too impressed. But I did work there in the building, and all the people that I worked with, we were in charge of distributing grants, money to these different towns that wanted help with, you know, basically beautifying their towns and like, and basically like smart growth. I was in the smart growth division. And I remember I looked at this list. We had all these grant applications. My job was to go pick out the best ones. And I looked through them and I was just like astonished. And I took this one to my boss and I was like, this is the most frivolous thing I've ever seen. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, can you believe this application? He read it. They won. He's like, actually, it makes a lot of sense. I think we're going to do it. And they did. They really did it. I know, I even remember the name of the city. I won't tell you in case you live there and then you'll feel bad about how terrible your city is. But I was just floored at how irresponsible this was. I was 19 and that's how it is. these government employees are like, a really stupid, irresponsible idea. Like, oh man, let's throw them $100,000, you know, totally in. It's crazy. So anyway, yeah, this so this is America's natal chart, and to me, I feel like this where is it? Well, we'll just add a second chart. Ding. Where is it? Recently used, the January 12th conjunction. So we are going to see it down here because it makes all the houses line up, but we can see how you know, with the South Node in the January 12th conjunction, conjunct Jupiter over here, and then with all of this energy going on also in Capricorn, this big calling for us right now in this period of history, like for the next couple of years, we're going to be really dealing with the expansion of our negative baggage on this axis. And it's going to be on, it's also going to be on the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is going to be like home and tribe versus government, and like the patriarchy versus the matriarchy. And we're seeing a lot of that stuff as well, like men's rights, women's rights, even like transgender rights, like all of this stuff about gender issues, which is a Capricorn Cancer axis thing to a large degree. And so we're being asked to look at a couple of different things, but I do think looking at our natal South Node is a really worthwhile thing to take a look at here. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love seeing the composite chart. I know if you're new to looking at charts, it's already overwhelming looking at a chart because you're learning the symbols, and then there's like trigonometry involved, and it basically looks like Greek. And you go do this, and it's like everything that I thought I was tracking just completely shattered. And so I appreciate the experience that new people are having. But if you just focus on the few things that we're talking about, it will help. And what's great is you can just pause this video, and I like to study. I'm very visual, so I would probably pause this and just look at everything until some of it starts to make sense. But yes, all of this is so powerful, and like I'm kind of enchanted by like seeing how all of those planets are stacked up right there in Capricorn. Like it looks like they're spread out, but it's only because there's not enough room to literally pile them all, but they're all at that 21, 22 degree point, approaching that 27 degree point. Like they're all actually before.
Yeah, they're all right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they are for people watching. Sorry, continue.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just looking at the energy of, so the chart moves in a counterclockwise fashion. And so everything is moving in that direction, unless it's in retrograde or unless it's the North Node, South Node. But like, if you look at the progression, the flow of everything, it's seeing how it's all moving and coming together. Pluto returns are so significant in a country's existence. And so I'm excited to talk more about our Pluto return and in this, and then also like all of the other things that you're preparing. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Here, shall we remove this chart for a minute? No, let's keep it up for one more second, because we wanted to look, so we just looked at the second house and then a little path. But for America, we have, our natal chart has Venus conjunct Jupiter, a massive expansion of our money, which of course we can see it. We're the richest country in the whole world. This is a fabulous configuration, but also maybe not when we have this karmic stuff happening in the second house. Like we have a big blessings and big responsibilities. And when we shirk those responsibilities to be financially responsible, we're going to pay for it. That is, to me, the message there. Now, the transiting Venus on the conjunction was at 28 degrees Aquarius, as we talked about in the other chart. But look at that. It's right here. It creates a stellium with Pallas and the moon. So the moon is going to deal with our national sense of emotions. Like we really want to take care of everybody. We really care that everybody is taken care of. We really care about that. And the Pallas is the thinker and the strategic thinker. And so Pallas is going to be thinking about that. And I think in general, most Americans do think about that. We really want all the poor kids to have lunch, like we do. And then we give them free lunch at school. Like we do that because we think about it and we care about it. And that is the message here. And here we have this, our Venus is super into that right now. There's like tons of stuff with I know with COVID, my kids' school got free lunch. I think every school in America has free lunch right now. I'm not sure on that, but our school does, even though I could definitely afford to buy my kids lunch, but I don't, because they're all having free lunch at school. So this is a really like touchy feely way to spend our money. But maybe it's not that smart, so that is an interesting thing going on. Let's see, America's birthday. Um, okay, and so you can see this on the grid. America's natal Venus is square that Chiron for January the 12th. So what that is telling me is that the way that we're spending our money during this time is going to be basically our deepest soul wound. It's really probably not going to be that responsible. And it's in look, the January 12th palace is in opposition to the natal Venus. So that is also a really interesting situation that we have here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Free lunch for everyone, but the quality is not good. Yes. I don't see a south node on my chart. You may just need to run it through a different system. All different astrology chart systems, not all of them will have a south node for you. Oh yeah, there you go. The south node doesn't often display, but it's directly opposite the north node. When we're looking at these future dates, what exactly am I checking for in my own charts? How will it impact me personally? That's like a huge question. But you can start by running a double chart or like having the two charts next to each other and just seeing how the relationships are. We're looking at relationships. This is relationship analysis. Okay, any more thoughts here? Oh, one thing I didn't notice before. Let's go back to the January 12th conjunction. Oh, look at that. Our deepest soul wound conjunct the ascendant, if you count it from 10:56 a.m., which, but yeah, big, let's see, go back. Okay. Anyway, our deepest soul wound is like right under the surface for us during this whole process. So easily triggered, but we won't always know what's going on because this is the unconscious. And look, Venus is in there too. Spending money and not even understanding that it could be actually really dangerous. And look at that style there to this palace. Our thinking is going to be hidden. Like our ability to see this clearly is going to be a little bit shrouded. Okay, let's take a look at the Aries full moon. So this is what just happened
this week.
Yeah, it did. And so I talked to Naomi about this because I wanted to know about the shortages. I thought I want to do a transit. I want to look at the transit of these shortages, but I don't know what chart to use. And I thought, oh, like this really came to the forefront of my own mind when I went to the store. I went to the dollar store. I had a specific item I wanted there. And I went in and maybe not half of the shelves were completely bare, but like maybe 25% were. Like it was a lot. I went in and I was just like, that shelf is bare. Like this entire row of shelves is bare. Like what in the world? And I thought, it's happening. Like it's happening now. Like the shortages that we all expected from COVID, they didn't happen right away as we were all using up the leftover stock and everything. But now we're here. And so this is the chart of that moment. And I wanted us to just sit down and look at it in the context of shortages. And the first thing I'm noticing is this Venus conjunct the midheaven, or sorry, conjunct the ascendant. So this idea that right on the surface, there's money stuff going on, and it's in opposition to Ceres, the nurturer, who can also spend a lot of time grieving, and Black Moon Lilith, which is going to be the independent, the medicine woman. And so I mean, here's the thing with all the stuff that we're going through, it is going to have to be this healing process because we have to correct. We're correcting. This is Saturn coming into play again, where we have to correct the ship. We have spent profligately, and now we have to pay the piper. But it's a healing process, but also it super sucks. So, do you have a thought on this? Or
Well,
something?
and all of that in Gemini over there, which is the thinker, and it's the chatty one, and it's the social, and it's the connecting, and all of that. And so the grieving and the medicine woman, and Lilith is. I like your description of the medicine woman. It's very of light, but Lilith is also like, it's the way that we can cut each other the deepest. Like it's the darkest, most shadowy side of ourselves. Like if you're going to come out as your worst self, that's your Lilith. Like yeah.
Yes, no, that's true. Lilith is like the ultimate biatch, and she can also be the medicine woman. It's like the lighter darkness, but yeah,
I just always picture her in a prison yard. Like she's sitting on the cold concrete bench underneath the shadow of the prison, and like you're going to visit her, and you've got like your pack of cigarettes that you only bought just to talk to her, and you're like, girl, what you want? What you want? Like, can I get you anything else? Like that's Lilith.
That's awesome. I always have imagined her as like this Native American medicine woman with this staff and like a big old eagle on her shoulder.
You don't want to mess with her.
You don't want to mess with her. Like she will tell you how it is, and maybe that's going to cut you to the core, but maybe you need to be cut.
Right.
Or maybe not. And I don't know. I'm a little biased because my own Black Moon Lilith is conjunct my sun. So if you want to know what Black Moon Lilith looks like that would be me. So
oh, that's awesome.
Black Moon Lilith is good.
I love this. Mine's conjunct my Pluto, so there's that.
Oh, yeah.
No wonder I see mine is so dark.
Yeah. That's an interesting point though. And I hope everyone watching this also sees that this is like really interesting how our own personal experiences with Lilith. So for me, my sun is illuminating and bringing it to the light, and she has hers next to the Pluto.
Mine's hanging out, in the darkest recesses.
Yeah. And then how do we view this? How do we experience it in our own lives, right? So that's really interesting. Yeah, so thank you for all of that. Yeah, our treasure and our North Node right in this moment is to be in this space of the thinker. And the thing about Gemini is that it also rules where you physically are located right this minute, like your neighborhood right now. And so to me, I'm looking at that and thinking, okay, I mean, just this past week, I thought, oh no, these shortages are real. And I thought, if I need something, my neighbors had better have it. Like my local store had better have it, because I don't know if I can get it from the internet. The people that are going to have stuff are the people that already have stuff. So I hope they're the people that are next to me. But this placement here is showing me that our treasure is going to be with where we actually are. So this is, to me, a great time to be making connections with your neighbors and like the local store owner of your local, like locally owned establishments. That was my thought on that.
It's true. I love that interpretation.
Another thing, and this is also cusping the seventh house of one-on-one relationships. So building those one-on-one relationships. Now, why did I choose to interpret the Aries full moon with this? I want to tell you a couple of reasons, because I was thinking, how do we analyze the shortages astrologically when they're kind of this giant ongoing sludge that we're tromping through?
Well, it's such a series of events.
Yeah, it is such a series of events. I decided that it would be worth taking a look at this particular chart because this full moon energy is really coinciding with the shortages coming up in the news. I feel like in the past week, this has been coming up a lot more in the news, and full moon energy goes 3 days on either side. So like a full week of we're processing full moon energy. And during this past 7 days, we have seen a lot more about shortages in the news, and we've been experiencing it a lot more in person, in my opinion. I mean, in my own life, I have been, so I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like this is the week I was like, oh crap, it's real. Like, I better have the stuff that I need, or else I might not be able to get it. And the other thing that's interesting about this is the sun being in Libra, which wants everything to be fair. Libra is the scales of justice. That's what we're looking at here. This equality sign with this thing here is the scales of justice. It wants everything to be fair. Libra kind of like hates hoarders, and it wants it wants the redistribution of wealth, basically, or like it wants things to be fair. It doesn't necessarily want the redistribution of wealth, because it can really be interested in you keep what you have because you earned it. But whatever Libra thinks is fair, that's what it wants to happen. And it's a top priority for Libra. Over here, the moon is in Aries, which is all about me first. Aries is me first. All those fire signs kind of can have a little bit of me first to them, which is good.
True.
It's really important. But here we're going to see this conflict. I thought, what better energy to really sum up the concept of shortages and like hoarding and panic buying and all of this than this exact situation here. Like me first versus, but should we keep what we earn? How do we make things fair? Yeah. So do you have any thoughts on this?
I totally agree. The Aries energy is such a gift because it teaches us you have to put yourself first. You have to make sure that you have what you need. Like, this is absolutely vital, but obviously out of balance, it's I got my stuff, screw you. I don't care if you have yours. Like, don't you dare come knocking on my door. And if you do, you're going to meet my gun. Like, it's very like too much Aries energy. And so the full moon is always about balance, but especially with a full moon in Aries and a sun in Libra, it's extra focused on maintaining that balance. And then you have like you have 4 placements in Libra during this with the Mars is just about conjunct. I mean, it's within 4 degrees. So it's joining the conversation of this, like, we're going to be balanced here. And the Aries full moon reminded us, hey, don't forget to take care of you first. You can take care of everybody else. You can help everyone, but don't you dare forget. Like, the fire of the Aries is like, we are making sure that we are solid so that we can help everyone, but first me.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for that. I love that Aries has this gift for boundaries. Like, in a healthy space, Aries is really good at saying, like, this is where I draw the line. Like, I have to take care of me first. It's the oxygen mask thing where you put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So we're really like, this is kind of an invitation to put the oxygen mask on so that we can help others. But first you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And approaching this, my husband and I, we talked about, like, reevaluated, like, how are we doing for our family? What does our home look like? How are the freezers? How's the toilet paper? Like, what else do we need? Like, all of the basics. And we said, okay, let's get ourselves taken care of, because like you were saying, you were like, I hope my neighbors have this. But if your neighbors barely have enough for themselves, if not even that, then they can't share without compromising their own safety. And so, like, take care of you and then go for more abundance if you feel moved to be able to support others, but take care of you first.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. That's true. I just want to be clear about my neighbors. I was thinking of a pressure canner. I was like, I should get into canning. Oh, I don't want to buy a canner. Someone else can have one.
Not like consumable supplies. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but that's true in the context of consumable supplies, 100%. Is it fair to ask your neighbors to give you stuff you haven't been taking care of yourself? And I mean, I don't know. There's always been like preppers. There's always been people saying like, get prepared. But and I will say in my own life, I'm like more on that end of the spectrum. And so I've felt pretty prepared. But as soon as I saw all of the empty shelves, I saw them at Walmart, I saw them at the Dollar Tree that day, and I was like, oh boy. And then I came home and I was like, okay, but for real, like, what do we need? I'm like, we don't have enough hot sauce. Like, this sucks. How am I going to get through the apocalypse without hot sauce, But anyway, this is a time to be like thinking about this, and not to say that we're in the apocalypse or something, but I will tell you, I will be very sad. My daughter will be very sad if there's a salsa shortage. So I'm like, I need to go stock up on salsa. Like, did not think of that ahead of time, but when there was no salsa there, I thought, oh, this is going to be a disaster. In normal times, Walmart inventory turns over every 24 hours. Thank you for that. I did not know that. So seeing empty shelves at Walmart really is a big deal, because they should be turning
Yeah.
over every 24 hours. The cheap stores are going empty. More pricey places still seem well stocked. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So one interesting thing going on here is the sun and the sun and Mars conjunct in Libra over here. And they're at 23 and 27 degrees of Libra. And right now, the sun just moved into Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a really interesting placement because this is called the Via Combusta. Have you heard of this?
I actually haven't.
Yeah. So
Like the cusp is called that, or what specifically is called that?
So between 15 degrees of Libra and 15 degrees of Scorpio, oh, look at that. That's an interesting, we'll look at that in just a second. But basically between here on this chart and right here with this Vesta, it's called the Via Combusta, which means the way of fire, the path of fire, the path of explosions, right? And this is considered kind of like the most unlucky place in the zodiac. And if the moon is in that space in a horary chart, the chart is considered unreadable. Like you can't use it. Or like the answer to your horary question is like, no, like you can't, like there's nothing you can do, you're doomed. That's the tradition surrounding this. So like, is it true or not? I don't know, but that's the tradition around the Via Combusta. But to have the sun and Mars is also called the Lesser Malefic, which is because Mars is really great. It goes with Aries, and Mars is all about bravery and taking action and like being able to put the oxygen mask on yourself. But Mars also deals with accidents, injuries, actual fires, like basically like big negative events, like a divorce. You would look at Aries on a chart, like on Mars, among other things. But like Mars can be associated with a lot of negative things, kind of like how Saturn can. Saturn brings back your consequences. So if you put in a lot of good stuff, you're going to get good consequences. Most people don't, so they get bad consequences. And that's why Saturn is the great malefic, but Mars is the lesser malefic. And right now it is conjunct the sun in this Via Combusta. So we're looking at possibly an energy of how do we put it? Possibly a more destructive energy on a nationwide and even a global level than normal, because the sun travels through this area every year from like October 7th to November 7th-ish. And it shakes us all up internally, and it can shake things up globally. But to have it, let's just put it this way, Mars is not conjunct the sun every year during the Via Combusta, and Mars is the fiery planet. And so to have this fire planet next to the sun as the sun is transiting the fire path, that seems like really notable to me.
Yeah, Mars takes about 2.5 years to go around the sun. So for it to have that timing, like it only is conjunct the sun that frequently. And so to have it there it makes me wonder how long it's been and how long until it happens again.
Yeah, that is a good point. And I don't know, maybe I'll run the charts on that later to see. Oh, here's a comment. My husband works for Georgia Pacific. Some of his mills make toilet paper, paper plates, and Dixie cups. Warehouses are full. It's more of a delivery issue for his mills. Thank you. So let's look at delivery. Where would we look at delivery on a chart?
Well, you're talking like for traveling, you're talking either Gemini or Sagittarius energy, because it's like, is the mill just in the next town over? Like, are we talking fairly local, or is it like, are we getting it from China to the US, or is it coming from, the mill out in Oklahoma out to California?
Yeah, so look at this. We have our south node in Sagittarius, and look, it's at 2 degrees. Normally 2 degrees would be a really positive placement for a thing, but at 2 degrees, because the nodes are going backwards, nodes move backwards, it's actually in one of its most karmic positions
Completing.
right now, completing the cycle. But this is going to be long travel. This is going to be China to Washington, D.C., your Dixie cups getting from China to Washington, D.C. And this is going to be the Dixie cups going from the factory to your house next door. And so because this is in Sagittarius, which governs the long distances, and Gemini, which governs the short distances. And so it looks like short distances are really going to be where the treasure is right now. If the less space, less like
distance to cover.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sagittarius and Gemini also govern the 3rd and 9th houses. And so we don't have a lot going on in the 9th house, but down here we have Jupiter, which is going to be exploding issues relating to transportation. Pallas, the nation's going to be thinking about it. And Neptune, there's going to be this element of illusion versus reality, that maybe things are not as good as they appear, maybe they're not as bad as they appear, but whatever we're seeing is not close to the full story.
Especially in Pisces, it's a double dose of that Neptune energy because Neptune rules Pisces. And so, yeah, I'm also, as you're talking, I'm thinking there's a lot here that isn't above board. There's a lot here that is trying to be hidden. Like, this isn't like, oops, we made a mistake somewhere along the line and now we just don't have stuff. Like, this is not an accident. This is, I believe, and Allie and I talked about this, and I think this is personal opinion, but to what extent is this pre-planned? And is this part of a master plan? Is this a component in the whole thing? Is this a side effect that it's like, oh, we'll just let it be that way? Or is this, are the shortages part of this overall plan? And so then you're looking at the double tongue. You're looking at stuff that's hidden, stuff that's trying to be hidden. So you're looking at Scorpio, you're looking at Gemini, you're looking at Pisces, you're looking at these. Pisces is more of the like, oh, I didn't know that that was there, but it's there. And Scorpio is like, we're just going to tuck this away and make sure nobody sees it. Like, it's more of an intentional hiding, where Pisces is more like, oh, I didn't realize that this huge, massive conflict was ruining my life. Now I can heal that and move forward. That's more of the unconscious as opposed to the deliberate hiding. And like, which ones are the most strategic? I would say probably Scorpio energy is incredibly strategic at getting things done in a very hidden way. Because if you look out at the ocean and you're like trying to determine what's going on with the ocean and you don't know anything about the ocean and it's just kind of the waves are going, you're like, oh, cool, it's a pretty calm day. But if you go below the surface, which is always Scorpio energy, it could be all out war underneath of there and you would never see it unless you knew what you were looking for.
Thank you for that. Yeah, excellent point. And here we have Vesta in Scorpio. This little shape, the M with a little arrow, it's the scorpion. It's going to sting you. Okay. And Vesta has a lot going on. She's mowing the lawn and she's doing the dishes. Her cake is in the oven. She's going to frost it in just a minute, but she's got to take a shower first. Like, she's busy. She's got all this stuff. She's got her hand in a lot of pots. My Vesta is also conjunct my sun, but Vesta here in Scorpio at the tail end of this Via Combusta, and like the sun, you know, as we go through this, let's see if we can just play it. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't want to do that. Oh yeah, no, I did want to do that. Okay, where are we? Where did I stop it? November the 5th. It went so fast. Let's go back. Anyway, the outer wheel is moving along with time, but as it is going, the sun is getting closer and closer to that Vesta energy in the Scorpio thing. So what we're dealing with right now is going to be a whole lot of things that are hidden from the national consciousness. We're going to be dealing with this illusory message. And let's take a look at Mercury. Where is it? Okay, Mercury is up here. Mercury is going to be going into the...
It just went direct, like as of the full moon, like it had just gone direct like 2 days before.
So Mercury is direct on October 26th. On October 26th, in 3 days, Mercury will be entering the Via Combusta. And so we're going to be seeing, like, to me, to have Mercury in there with the sun, with Mars, with Vesta, on a national level, I'm going to say I'm not going to trust what the news is going to be saying about what's going on.
Do you ever though?
I don't. I never do. But with this time, I'm going to say it's really safe to assume they are lying on purpose. I mean, I think a lot of times journalistic bias comes in and impacts how news is presented. But here I'm like, oh boy, there's probably outright intentional distortions of data, more so than normal. And let's look up the grid here of the transiting Mercury going to be opposite that Chiron. So especially when it comes to shortages, possibly misrepresentation of data that can hurt.
Well, and that particular opposition, because it's Mercury in Libra and Chiron in Aries, it's very much about I'm just communicating about others. So I'm outside of myself. I'm not centered in myself as much while I'm communicating. And Chiron Aries is the overall like, no, I'm taking care of me. Go away. Like, I'll punch you. I'll swipe at you if you try to get too close. And so that opposition creates that mirror opportunity of you can see yourself in the other if you're trying to. You can have that opportunity to see your soul wounds in other people, and you will, whether you're trying to or not. It's going to mirror back to you more reverberation there than typical. But if you can drop your ego, which Aries Chiron doesn't do very well, and many people have Aries Chiron because it spends so much time there. But
yeah, thank you. Chiron has a really irregular orbit, and so more people have an Aries Chiron than probably any other kind of Chiron, because it spends like 12 years in Aries, but it only spends like 4 years in Taurus or something like that. Like, it's really irregular. Oh, I had another thought about Mercury in Libra here. Oh, that the communication is going to be about trying to keep things calm and even, in my opinion. Like, I know you've seen these articles probably where it's like shortages aren't really a big deal. No, you should not buy extra. Like, don't worry about it. And to me, I'm sitting there like, okay, this is a Mercury in Libra kind of presentation of this.
Trying to calm everyone down.
Calm everybody down, calm it down, calm it down. But, and then with this, Neptune in Pisces, like, but however we're communicating may not be communicating the actual truth. And I'm not saying you should go panic buy, not saying that, but I am saying that when I'm seeing these news articles that are saying that this is not a big deal, I'm looking at this kind of astrological placement and thinking, yeah, but maybe you're wrong.
Yeah. And it's just, you have to sit with it and come to the truth. All signs can be deceptive. All of us deceive for different motivations. And the deception of Libra is typically because we want to avoid conflict. We want everything to be lovely. Just be quiet. I know that you have a problem, but just be quiet. And it's a sweep it under the rug in its shadow. And so it's not deceptive for control as much, or because it's funny, or because they want a reaction. It's deceptive for we're going to have peace at all costs. I won't listen to anything that's of conflict. La, 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 la. Like, that's the shadow of Libra. And so in the shadow part, if people are in their shadow or unconsciously not paying attention to their words, like the people broadcasting the news and people idly passing on what they're hearing, they're in that like, everything is fine, all is well in Zion, everything is just great. Like, it's very much that energy in its shadow, but we can bring it into the light. We can keep ourselves accountable. We can be within our own self and find our own truth of what's going on. And that keeps us out of panic. And that keeps us in a like, yes, I really should go buy 6 more pounds of ground beef this week, instead of, oh my gosh, the ground beef's almost gone, I need to buy all of it. Like, just what do you actually need?
Yeah, thank you so much. That's so true. All of it. Where, yeah, any misrepresentation in the news about this, it may be motivated from this desire to make sure that everybody's getting along and that there's not conflict. They don't want people fighting in the grocery store. So we're gonna like have this narrative that's really gonna promote peace, or like the perception of peace. Like, it's coming from a well-meant place for a lot of people, I would imagine.
Yeah.
They just want everybody to be calm and happy.
It's just not thought out to be connected to the consequences. That's the shadow of Libra. Is it's just right now in this moment, I want peace. And so you're not thinking, like, if I'm not being completely truthful right now, it could cause this catastrophic down the road. But it's just in the moment, like we're just having peace right now, which really creates internal war when you're obsessed with peace right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's so true. When you try and keep the peace externally at the expense of living your truth, it just causes disaster. Here's a comment. I have that argument all the time with my Libra person. My Aries is like, trying to keep the peace won't solve the problem, and they try and calm me down. Yeah, this is an energy that we're going to see a lot coming up because Chiron is in Aries, and keeping the peace is not going to solve the problem. We have to face it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big message of that energy right now, for sure. Okay, well, our time is like about.
We could probably go for another hour, but
I know. You have like a couple more minutes to just quickly look at the current chart, or no?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I've got some time now.
Take a look at the Pluto return really quick. This is what we're looking at for the Pluto return. Okay, February 2022. Okay, so this is a big thing that we're going to be dealing with. Pluto exact Mars at 19 degrees Capricorn. This is going to be on a governmental level. In the family hierarchical structure level, we get a choice. We get to choose, are we going to fight with what we love, or are we going to fight for what we love?
I think you meant the Venus and Mars conjunct, not Pluto and Mars.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's what I meant.
You're fine. It just matters because people are learning. Yeah. So
it's
just
true.
jumping in.
So much. I didn't even realize I said it wrong.
I do that all the time too. So yeah, but yeah, that Venus and Mars conjunction, that is significant.
Yeah. So when it comes to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th house. Everyday opportunities to decide if we're going to fight with the people that we love or for the people that we love. This can be a big recipe for interpersonal conflict in your home, in your family, and you get to choose out of that. I mention it because when it comes to resources, I mean, that's what most big fights are about. They're about resources. They're about physical resources and stuff, and they're about emotional resources. And I just don't have time to deal with your crap. Oh, but you just want me to deal with it. Oh, but I don't want to, and it becomes a fight.
Well, so, especially an overly practical Capricorn. Like this isn't like a fiery, it's like we're being grounded about this. Like a Venus and Mars conjunction, it will increase drive. Like anything that Mars is doing, it's going to punch up that drive. So like your sex drive might be awesome, or it might be your drive to fight and bicker about the everyday things.
Yeah. Well, and here's this Vesta right here. Will have a lot of opportunities to take action or fight with or about lots of different things every day. That is what is happening right here. Geez, but look at this. The 2nd house is empty.
Mm-hmm.
The 8th house, ooh, the sun is in the 8th house. That's the house of sex, death, taxes.
It's total transformation.
Total transformation. That's the cocoon. We go in and have all of this craziness happening outside, and when the sun comes out of it, it's going to be different. So let's see, 2 to 8 degrees. So let's see, February, by the end of February, we may have set the cracks in motion for a real serious transformation on a national level.
I have every confidence that's accurate. I think we will think like, wow, it's changed so much, and it's like, sweetie, it's just the beginning.
Yeah,
this is not a moment and then we go back to things, or we don't settle into what's going to be after this. This, like you said earlier, it's like a 10-year progression, because Pluto does its thing. It moves so slow anyway, and it always goes into retrograde every year for several months. And to me, the energy of it looks like it hit the body, and the body fell on the ground, and then it backs the truck up over the body when it does the retrograde, and then it runs over it again. It kind of has that energy of like, we're making sure that it is dead. Like Pluto is like, it's taking it down, it's taking it out, and so that it can be born into something new. But that was my personal experience of my Pluto square Pluto was like, that first one was like smack. And then it was like, this is terrible when it backed back over. And then going forward, it's like, it was something new was starting to be born afterward, after it was all complete. But it was very intense. And I'm just glad I knew what was going on astrologically, because otherwise I wouldn't have had any explanation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. That's so true. That is exactly what is going to happen. Pluto is going to back the truck up, back it, and then put it back in forward. And like, we're going to get
just when we think we're okay. But it's like, if you know what's going on, you can just be ready for it. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be fearful or terrible, because we can embrace, because we know the long-term goal is transformation. The long-term goal is resurrection, is really what Pluto is offering.
Yes, it's so true. And here, this Pluto is in the 7th house of one-on-one relationships. And so one message for me with seeing that and this, and remember again that Venus represents resources. Our natal national Venus is right here in Aquarius, right? No, it's not. I'm sorry. Delete. That's not true. It's not there. Our natal Aquarius is in the 2nd house. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to have a death and rebirth with our financial resources, and with our personal relationships. So we're looking at a really transformative experience with our families, the people we see every single day, the people we're married with, the people that we have close one-on-one relationships with, like our kids, like your best friend, like your neighbor that you live next to. Maybe you don't know them, and maybe this is a news flash to like go bring over some cookies or something, so you know their name.
Have some connection.
If social networks all go down, if the internet went down, would you know the name of your neighbor? Like, would you have someone that you could go outside and you would feel comfortable saying, hey, what's going on? Do you have a ham radio? Do you know what's happening? Like, we're going to have a transformation of our one-on-one relationships and how we communicate. Okay. With this Mercury right here. Oh, geez, right in between Saturn and Pluto. So anyway, okay.
Also, I have one more thought.
Oh yeah, do it.
So as you're talking about this, like Pluto, because it moves so slow, this is the moment of the return, which is a big deal. However, we're prepping this whole time, like we're prepping as it's moving. And the visual that I get of as Pluto's doing its thing, because Pluto can feel so harsh and because it moves so slow, the imagery I get, I don't know if this is in a movie, but like picture like gladiator style, and there's a big heavy sword and they're coming out and they're like dragging the sword across the ground, and it's like this scraping awful, like leading up to it. Like that's like, we're already in the squeeze of it because we're close enough to this happening. Like we're starting to feel it, and like all of that like uncomfortableness, like this is the peak, and then we'll go forward and back and all the things. But like Pluto doesn't mess around. Like when the moon conjuncts things, it zips around the zodiac so fast that like those changes are more of a moment, a burst, a mood. It's a mood swing. Where Pluto is like, we're being thorough and we're going all the way to the full dismantling. And so if, as we move towards this, especially if you have personal transits that are going on with it, which is of course a whole other entire conversation, but you'll see it will build and build and build, but it builds slowly. And so just embracing that and just trusting that this is all of perfect order and timing. This is all beautiful and of light, and God is aware of it, and God is aware of you. And when you feel like you can't take it anymore, that's probably the like, oh sweetie, you're supposed to release control anyway, because you're not the one holding all of the energy for everything. Just be, and it will be okay. And you'll get through this more gracefully and possibly even enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you can enjoy it. It is possible.
I'm a Sagittarius. I'm like, let's be optimistic.
Yeah, it's so true. No, this can be a really positive thing for us on a personal level. I think on a national level, it's clear that as a nation,
it's because we won't release control. It's because we're dedicated to the shrouded, the hidden darkness, the organizations that are operating out of the light. And what Pluto is saying is we are bringing this to the light, whether you like it or not. It's we're opening the closets with the skeletons in it. It is happening. And so if you're like, yay, spring cleaning in your own life, then you embrace it. And it's like, oh, that feels so much better. I didn't even know that was there. But it's because of the wickedness. It's because of the deliberate turning away from the light. And this is why God is light. And the more light you shine on a situation, the more truth you can see. And things are coming to light, whether you like it or not, which if you're determined to hide stuff, turns into total chaos, because this is more powerful than any human or organization can keep their grip hold. And so it's like, well, sweetie, you're going to have to release your grip, whether you like it or not. That's what I feel like the universe is saying to America. Like, it's really great that you made it this far, but all of that stuff you've been doing, yeah, we've been watching it the whole time, and it's now coming to light, ready or not.
Yes. Thank you so much. It's so true. And this is why I've been talking to my group. We got to clean out the skeletons in the closet. Now is the time to do your emotional healing. I will be honest with you. I know people get worried about things like food and like, I don't know, other stuff like that in these shortages times. To me, I'm like, yeah, that's important, but no, it's also not important. What is important is the state of your soul.
Yes.
Do you have it in you to be calm and optimistic if the rest of society goes through these major earthquakes that we're in for? This is the time to be investing in your emotional health, clearing out your past trauma so that when these dark stuff things come up, they don't trigger you and you're able to say, oh, I understand what's happening. It's okay. Like, I'm fine and I understand the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Because you could have the perfect food supply. You could literally have it calculated and organized and everything is fresh enough. It's going to keep for years. Like, you could have it all perfect, and a meteor could hit your food storage and destroy it. Or somebody could show up with a gun and take it. Not that I'm trying to perpetuate panic, but that is something that can be taken from you. And so if all of your investment has been put into something that is physical and can be removed from you, and your emotional preparation, your spiritual preparation, and all that, the things that are not removable, if you've made no investment, good luck, sweetie. Like, we love you and all of that, but like, you have to be willing to be helped. You have to be willing to put down your beliefs that like, this will never change and this is just how it is and I can't and this and that. Like, we all have those things, but the more that you can invest in that, the better you will fare.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll say for myself, I've always like, I will, anyways, I'll skip that, what I was going to say, but I have like my pantry of like, a couple of weeks of food supply or whatever. And I went down there a year or two ago and I was like, this would not get us through like an extended amount of time. Like, when I first saw the writing on the wall in March of 2020, and I thought, they're shutting down businesses. We're going to feel this in a year and a half, which now we are. Like, it's been a year and a half since March 2020. And I thought, a year and a half from now, this is not going to do the trick. And I was like, okay, like, God, tell me, like, how much food storage should I get? And what I heard was, well, I had a vision of the floor opening up under my house and my whole pantry sinking into the earth in an earthquake. And the message was, I could take this from you in 1 second. Don't even worry about that. Like, don't worry about it. You have some food. Maybe you'll get to use it and maybe you won't. But the only thing that you can count on is your faith. Like, do you believe that you're going to be taken care of? Like, can you believe that even if your house is destroyed, your food storage is destroyed, you're out on the street with nothing but the clothes on your back, I'm going to take care of you? Are you in that space? If you are, nothing can hurt you. If you're not, anything will be a disaster for you.
Absolutely.
And so getting into that space of, no matter what happens, I'm going to be fine. How do we do that? We have to resolve our past trauma of all kinds. And we have to realize that the divine and the universe are not responsible for our own traumas. We have a large part to play in the ideation of our own traumas. And so addressing that is what's going to be the thing that can save us in the end. Don't freak out about food, freak out about your soul, print your recipes and everything. I keep saying, get your skill storage in place, faith storage. Yes, skills are everything. But really the skill of having faith and trusting that things are going to be fine. It is a skill and we have to develop it.
Absolutely. We talk about all the time in our home that the most important skill that you will learn in this lifetime, period, the end, is learning how God specifically speaks to you. There is nothing more important to invest in than how God speaks to you. And so, like my children, we talk about, when you feel impressions, how do you feel it? Where do you feel it in your body? Like, how do you know it's from God? Like, we're talking about this on the regular because it takes time. I didn't figure this out until I was like 34 years old. Like literally, I did not like have that confident, like, and that's, we're talking the beginning of that confidence of, oh, this is when God is speaking to me. I can tell that this is God's voice. I know how to follow minute directions. Like, oh, I'll wear the red shirt today. Oh, nope, I'm feeling prompted to wear the blue. Like sometimes it comes like that. And sometimes it's drive down this street. And sometimes it's move to this city. And sometimes it's big and sometimes it's little, but that confidence and that clarity of how God speaks to you is the most important skill you can invest in, because like Ali said, you could have all the food storage, it could disappear, or maybe you feel prompted from God to give half of it to your neighbor. And if you're like, nope, 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 it's my food storage, I work towards it, and you're over the top in the Aries energy of like, mine, focus, focus, focus on me. But if God is saying, I need you to do this thing, we have no idea why God would tell us to do. And maybe somebody else will be commanded to give their half of their food storage to you. We have no idea, but we can rest assured in preparing and investing in that faith.
Yeah, thank you so much. And final thought, I'm saying investing, the best part about investing in your own intuition is that it's free. Like, guess what? Like, yes, you can take classes and like, yes, you can do sessions. And I recommend that for if you feel that it's right for you, but also just like the real thing it's going to take from you is your time. The real thing it's going to take from you is your commitment. And those are free. So
amen.
You can handle this. If you are broke as a joke, it's okay. You still don't have to worry. You start digging in on your own time. And there are lots of free resources out there for you. There are lots of things that you can do to just practice hearing the divine and acting on it right away. So
absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for being here. And that's a wrap for today, but this is so fun. So we're going to have to do it again sometime.
I love this.